All right, I am going to reread to you. You wouldn't want to be an American pioneer, so that you have this to work on with your 4 reasons. Go west and get rich. You will not be the first to go west overland. A few explorers and fur trappers have made the trip already. They say it is tough, but possible. What you need is a good, strong wagon packed with everything for the journey. You fill your wagon with enough goods to last at least 5 months: sacks of beans, flour, and dried fruit, barrels of bacon, coffee, and sugar, clothes, bedding, tents, tools, guns, cooking equipment, medicine, soap, and candles. With all that on board, there is hardly room for people. It is important not to take more than your animals can pull. If they get worn out, you will never make it to your destination. So, decisions. Developers visit towns to tell of the wonders of Oregon, the West Coast paradise where farming is easy. Politicians tell you to go west for your country's sake. If Americans don't settle in Oregon, the British will. You have to sell your farm to finance the trip. Not everyone thinks that traveling over 2,000 miles through the unknown is a good idea. Relatives weep as you set off. And here's your handy hint on this page. Although it is big and heavy, don't leave behind your plow. You'll need it at your journey's end. Ganging up, don't travel alone. Pioneer families take their wagons and meet at a convenient point: Independence, Missouri, the westernmost U.S. town. The pioneers formed trains of wagons traveling together for safety. The land they have to cross belongs to native tribes of people called Indians, or Native Americans now. They might be dangerous. Who knows? Spring is the only time to start the long journey west, so the town is packed with people. Everyone is excited and no one knows what to expect. You hear all sorts of rumors and lack of water in the rivers, floods, and Indian attacks. Most wagon trains hire a guide, such as a fur trapper, who has been west and knows at least part of the route. So the town of Independence specializes in equipping wagon trains. If there's anything that you forget to pack or did not realize you would need, you can buy it here. Prices are high though. Your handy tip: take a walking larder with you, some live animals that you can kill and eat on the journey. Buy them at Independence. Into the unknown. The pioneer family set off in a long line of wagons. Wagon drivers race to get to the front of the line to avoid the dust stirred up by the other wagons. Going too fast exhausts the oxen and mules that pull the wagons. 2 miles an hour is all they can do comfortably. It is not long before people are bickering. No one can agree when to stop for a rest, where to camp, or who should keep watch at night. It is soon clear that rules and a daily routine will have to be established. Don't grumble when you are woken at dawn to get moving, and don't sneak off when it is your turn for guard duty at night. Stop fighting. The men of the wagon train elect officers to keep order, settle disputes, and punish those who disobey the rules. The women are not allowed to help make decisions. Your handy hint: don't start your journey too early in the year, or there won't be enough grass growing to feed your animals. But don't leave too late, though, or you won't get over the mountains before they are blocked by snow. Wet and weary. Grass, and more grass. That's all you see for at least 2 months as the wagons follow the muddy Platte River across an endless plain. The journey, which was fun at first, gets boring and exhausting. The sun beats down, and there is not a single tree for shade. Suddenly, out of nowhere, black clouds pile up to create violent storms. Lightning flashes make the animals bolt. Winds rips the wagon covers off and blows away the tents. In minutes, everyone is drenched and the campsite becomes a sea of mud. Not only do you need to worry about the storms of rain, but there are also sandstorms. You can get sand in your face. West winds whip the dry, sandy soil into clouds of stinging dust. This leaves for sore eyes. The sand makes your eyes sting and your eyelids swell up. Your lips get puffed and split. And then there's sand everywhere. Sand gets up your nose and down your throat, into your food and bedding, and all over your clean clothes. So not only are you dealing with rainstorms and sandstorms, but you're also dealing with injured animals. One of your oxen is lame. It has trodden on a cactus spine and its hoof is infected. Cut out the bad flesh and seal the wound with hot tar. Make the ox a protective shoe out of buffalo skin and tie it on. Handy hint, hold an umbrella over your pot if you need to keep cooking in the rain. So I'm going to change the wording on this because it's more appropriate to say Native Americans. So I'm going to say, watch out for Native Americans. Sooner or later, you will come across Native Americans. They spend their time hunting, so they are experts with bows and arrows, and you have heard stories about how fierce they are. They are fascinated by your odd-looking clothes and tools. Some of the Plains tribes have made an agreement with the U.S. government. They will let the wagons pass safely, and in return, they can charge a toll. If you don't pay up, you can't expect the Native Americans to keep their side of the bargain. The vast grassland you are crossing, known as the Great Plains, is the home of the Plains tribes, and they live by hunting buffalo. You could meet some Sioux. They are one of the most powerful of the Plains tribes. Blackfeet, they don't put up with any nonsense. Other Plains tribes are afraid of them. The Pawnee, they are used to meeting white settlers and have been known to take horses in return for letting you cross their land. And the Chinooks, you will meet this tribe who flatten their heads at the end of your journey. You will also meet the Mandans, the Shoshone, the Nez Perce, and many more tribes. Remember that this is their land you're crossing, so be polite to them. All right, now we have a stampede. If you hear a noise like thunder from the plains above the river, watch out. This sound is the pounding hooves of a herd of buffalo galloping your way. Something has made these huge animals panic, and now nothing can stop them. You must try to get the wagons out of the way before they are crushed in the stampede. Normally, the buffalo graze peacefully on the plains. Plains Native Americans rely on the buffalo for everything they need. They eat almost nothing else and use the hides to make clothes and tents. There are huge herds of buffalo in North America at the moment, but your fellow pioneers are killing an awful lot of them. So not only do you have to deal with the stampedes of the buffalo, but there's other problems that you come across. Buffalo drinking. Buffalo coming to drink make deep ruts in the riverbanks. This gives the wagons such a bumpy ride that the wheels come off. There's a panic sometimes. A stampeding herd of buffalo can make your animals bolt off in panic too. They could break their legs or trample people. And finally, the buffalo are a hard target. Unless you know the right spot to hit, it is difficult to kill a buffalo. Your handy hint, setting fire to the grass can make stampeding buffalo change course. This is worth trying if you have no time to move camp. Meal times. Feeling queasy? The women do the cooking, and it is a thankless job. There is no tap water, no tables, and nothing to cook on until a fire has been lit. Flying insects drop into the cooking pot. You and your family are fed up with the rancid bacon and homemade bread that is full of sand. If you are lucky and kill a buffalo, you'll have more fresh meat than you can cope with. Then you should do as the Native Americans do. Cut the leftover meat into strips and dry it out. Packed into a barrel, the dry meat, called jerky, will keep for a long time and you can boil it later. Thirsty? After traveling in the sun all day, you won't mind drinking muddy river water. That odd flavor is probably not going to taste well. Wells. Dig a well to reach underground water. You will pass lots of wells dug by previous pioneers. Germs. Well water might taste better, but the wells contain germs from other wagoners. Watch out for an upset stomach. And finally, disease. Cholera, a deadly fever, can be caught from infected water. You will pass lots of graves of cholera victims. Hungry? What could be worse than eating nothing but dried meat, beans, and boiled flour? How about eating them after they've spoiled? The only thing worse is not having anything left to eat at all. Your handy hint: if you can't find firewood, collect buffalo droppings and burn that. Sink or swim, river crossings. Lots of people are drowned trying to cross rivers. Many pioneers cannot swim because swimming wasn't taught at school. You have to get over the rivers, and there aren't any bridges. Sometimes there is a ford, a place where the water is shallow enough for the wagons to be led across. But fording is dangerous. The wagons are linked by chains for safety, but strong currents could sweep a wagon sideways. If the chain snaps, the wagon could overturn and be carried away downstream. Too deep for a ford? Fell trees and make a raft big enough to carry each wagon. Animals swim or cross by raft. If they panic, they might upset the raft. No trees? Cover the base of the wagon with buffalo skins and float it over. Be careful, up to 90 wagoners drown each year. Our handy hint: don't cross unless you must. A man who crosses just to get his animals to better grass is drowned on the way. At the fort. Your food is running out, your wagon has fallen to bits, and your animals look as though they cannot last another day. There are mountains in the distance that you have to cross. You would never manage all this without a stop at Fort Laramie. This fortified enclosure, far out in the wilds, belongs to the American Fur Company. Officials who buy furs from trappers and Indians live here. You can buy food at the fort's store, if there's any food to spare, and give yourself and your animals a few days' rest. Lots to do at the fort. Mending: you can borrow tools from the fort's carpentry workshop and give your wagon a good overhaul. Washing: your smelly clothes and blankets get a real scrub at last. Women spend all day at it. Buying: you haggle with the storekeeper over his prices, but it doesn't work. He has plenty of other customers. Listening: you will hear lots of different advice about the best route to take across the Rocky Mountains. Relaxing: there is nothing to worry about for a few days, so have a dance around the campfire at night. And sleeping. You can sleep soundly at night and all day too if you need to, because there is good security around the fort. Your handy hint: trade your tired animals in for fresh ones. Your old beasts will rest and be sold later. Done in and done for. Are mules or oxen best at pulling wagons? Pioneers argue endlessly over this before making their choice. Mules walk faster, but oxen can pull more weight, and they are nicer to eat if you are starving. Whichever you choose, remember that your life depends on them. If you cannot keep your wagon moving, you will be stranded in the wilderness at the mercy of wolves, bears, and hostile tribes. So why your animals might not make it. Nothing to eat. If you see no grass for days, oxen will suffer more than mules. Mules will eat anything. Nothing to drink. Lack of drinking water from a pool that is alkaline can kill your animals. Walked to death. Pulling a wagon for months over mountains and plains, your beasts might finally sink to their knees and never get up. The wagon train must keep going. If no one has animals to lend you, it will leave you behind. Wait by the trail to see if the next train has spare animals, or set off walking and hope that you are not far from another fort. A handy hint: to save your animals, lighten the load. Throw all non-essential items out of the wagon. The last lap delays your journey. You must reach the West Coast by October before bad weather sets in and snow blocks the Rockies. After the Rockies are parched, dusty plains, more mountains, and the Columbia River with rapids and a gorge, you must navigate by raft. If you don't drown in the Columbia, you might die from one of the illnesses that plagued the pioneers. Months of eating food lacking in vitamin C causes scurvy. With the exhaustion, bleeding gums, and aching limbs that disease brings. Deadly mountain fever is carried by a blood-sucking tick. So you have slopes too steep to climb. You have to make a pulley to haul the wagons up. You have banks and gullies. Precious time is lost getting down these obstacles, and animals have to be lowered on ropes. You have cliffs. Guiding the wagons along the narrow mountain passes or precipices is slow and dangerous. Slow progress. By now, your animals are too weak to go faster. You have rapids. The rafts must be unloaded. For a fee, Native Americans might carry the baggage around. And you have obstacles. The route might be blocked by giant boulders, which you have to haul aside. Your handy hint: trapped in the snow and starving, you will get a tiny amount of goodness by making a stew from your leather boots. Finally, the journey's end, your own piece of Oregon. You have reached Oregon at last. You claim some land, but it is covered in trees. There is no home waiting for you, so you have to build one. There are no fields to farm. You must clear the trees before you can plant anything. First, you make a log cabin for shelter. Pioneers join forces to do the heavy work of hauling logs into place and setting up the roof. Then, when you have plowed the land you have cleared, you can begin a lifetime of hard work on it. The soil must be good since so many trees grow well in it. It's a pity they are all in the way. Chop, chop, you spend your days felling trees. Heave, the oxen don't get a rest either. Slash and burn, you tackle the undergrowth by hacking at it and setting it on fire. Your handy hint: don't throw out the old tents and wagon cloth. Use them to make clothes and mattress covers. Okay, here are the informational text features that we have in this book. We have our informational timeline for the American pioneers. We have our map of the Western Trail. We have our table of contents that gives us our headings and the pages that they are on. In the back, we have our glossary with all of our special words that we may not know. And we have our index talking about what pages certain things are on.